The 49ers are far from perfect, but they have left their biggest problem in the dust. I'm going to talk about it in this episode in 3 parts. We're going to get into each of the layers, and I cannot wait to break this one down for you. Hit subscribe if you're looking for daily 49ers content. Got a question for you as always. Today's question is, how are you feeling watching Jim Harbaugh hitting Trey Lance's pads, watching Trey Lance hit a couple beautiful passes and have some touch throws, score some touchdowns, have the Chargers destroy? How are you feeling about all of that? Because I'm just curious. I've been watching a lot of coverage on this, and I feel like the fan base is all over the place. I'm curious where you guys are at on this. As far as I'm concerned, I'll tell you my take. And by the way, this video is not about Trey Lance. It's not about the Chargers. It's not about Jim Harbaugh. It's not about the olden days. It's about the new days. But I'm just curious where you guys are at, okay? Here's where I'm at. Trey Lance could become a great quarterback. This is so far removed now from him being a 49er that I don't feel like this is on the 49ers for having not handled this. If he needed this much development, we didn't have the time that he needed for us to give it to him. Probably he should have spent an extra year in college. That's how I feel, just my personal opinion. You let me know where you're at, though. That's okay. It won't hurt my feelings if you disagree with me. But let's talk about what the 49ers have done and how they've left their biggest problem in the dust. Namely, last year's defense was obviously the biggest problem for the 49ers last year. But I think the beginning of the source of the defensive issue for the 49ers is where it's most interesting. And that problem they have left in the dust. There is still a problem lingering, though. And we're going to talk about all of it, but there's a problem lingering around the secondary right now, starting with injury issues. Okay, let's begin here. To kind of paint the whole picture in broad strokes, how are we going to survive this year? Let's start with the fact that Malik Mustafa, obviously he's on PUP, but he's progressing really well, and the 49ers are kind of holding him back to make sure that he hits all of his doctor's timelines and everything. So things are good long-term for Malik Mustafa, bad short-term for Malik Mustafa and the 49ers. Renardo Green is out at the moment, and if you're reading between the lines, it sounds like the 49ers are really hoping Upton Stout is going to be able to be the go-to nickel cornerback this year, but there's no commitment on that permanent demo move to the outside yet. And I think there's a lot of reason for that. We've heard Kyle Shanahan talk about how Deommodore Lenoir, is the best player, and we're always going to play the best player available, all that kind of stuff. But you get into kind of a weird position if Upton Stout's not quite ready yet. Now, here's what Kyle Shanahan had to say about Upton Stout yesterday, praising Upton Stout, saying not crowning him yet, but he's doing a heck of a job. So there is definitely some excitement around getting him in there, but we're going to have to wait and see how long it's going to take for the rookie to come in and be that nickel corner and what that's going to look like. Obviously, if you remember last week, I think it was, Kyle Shanahan talked about it's not ideal to have a player play both ways. They can be better if they're only doing one. But then you go back to the Super Bowl and you look at what happened when Deommodore Lenoir was not in the nickel corner position. It's not ideal. So all of that being said, then you get to Deommodore Lenoir. We can talk about him. He's looking to be out for potentially this block. That's how I'm kind of interpreting things. Could be sooner technically based on what Kyle said, but I think we've seen Kyle at times when it comes close to an entire practice block or whatever, he'll just go to the next one. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But Eric Branch had some interesting insight on the secondary depth right now, saying this. Meanwhile, the 49ers starting corner Renardo Green remains sidelined, while starting safety Malik Mustafa is on the physically unable to perform list. The attrition meant the 49ers starting secondary included 3 guys who have combined to play 67 career snaps for the team. Safety Jason Pinnock, who, by the way, today at practice got the only interception of the day. Cornerback Dallas Flowers, who's surprisingly been turning a lot of heads in camp, but it's just camp, Darrell Luter Jr. And one player who is recognizable to most fans, safety Ji'Ayir Brown. Now, Ji'Ayir Brown looked very promising in 2023. Had a great pick in the Super Bowl, obviously, and he came in for Talanoa Hufanga and it was a noticeable step forward in terms of what we had for the future. And then 2024 was a notable step backwards for what we thought we had in Ji'Ayir Brown in 2023. Now, there's reason to suggest, however, that things might be bouncing back big for the young safety. Ji'Ayir Brown, in my opinion, is going to make a big step back up, maybe even higher. And there's a lot to that. So let's go into some of the things he talked about yesterday that has me feeling like he's going to be making a big step forward. And then we'll get back to this whole leaving the biggest problem in the dust thing, I promise. So Ji'Ayir Brown was asked if it was a challenge going from Steve Wilks, his rookie season, to Nick Sorensen the following year. Here is how it was almost like he was ready for this question. I don't actually think that, but man, it feels like it. He played this one as politically safe as possible, saying, yeah, Steve Wilks is one of my guys. It was different from my second year and going into a new DC, a different style, different messages. That's how he described his experience with Nick Sorensen. You take that what you want. As far as I'm concerned, I feel like that is as nice as he can, his way of saying, yeah, Nick Sorensen was a huge reason that things were a little different last year. He also had that ankle injury. We'll keep that in mind as well. David Lombardi, 49ers safety Ji'Ayir Brown is looking forward to working with Robert Saleh this year. Brown acknowledges that his play dropped off in 2024. He then had ankle surgery this offseason and is now back. My demeanor, my posture, everything is different. Okay, this is interesting. Oh, you know what? I got to pull up that audio. While I'm pulling that audio up, though, okay? So as we're thinking about Ji'Ayir Brown, who I genuinely, like, I'm not just making this up. I really do think Ji'Ayir Brown has a really good shot this year to make a big step up. I'm not just blowing smoke. Ji'Ayir Brown has the coaching that he needs. He even, you know what? I think I've got it here somewhere. Let me see if I have it. Here's more on what his down season looked like last year, actually. We'll go there first. So my mindset was where it should have been. I think it was other factors that played in. Wonder where those factors came from. And it wasn't allowing me to play to my fullest potential that I know I can play at. My standards are pretty high, and I fell short of that, okay? There was one more somewhere in here. There it is. And how does Ji'Ayir Brown feel about Gus Bradley? That's my guy, man. That's one of the better philosophers I've come across in the sport. He uses the phrase my guy, which is the only other person he used that phrase about happened to be about a guy by the name of Steve Wilks, who he worked well with and liked working with. I've pulled up the audio clip, though, of one other thing. You've probably heard about this by now because it's kind of a big deal. I think it's pretty exciting. But here's Ji'Ayir Brown talking about some of the things he's doing to be better this season. Not happy with how he's been. Give this a listen.
Each year you want to get better. Look for different things you can learn because there's always room for growth. So this year I focus more on offenses, learning what I'm getting out of different sets. I spend time in the quarterback room. I spend time in the wide receivers room, so getting to see how they are trying to attack us and learn their scheme as well, and it allowed me to grasp the overall game of what's going on while I'm out there in real time.
So spending a lot of time with the offense in the wide receivers room, with the quarterbacks room. We actually got even more insight. If I'm not mistaken, I have it here from Eric Branch on this as well. In a recent article said this: I do a lot of listening, Brown said, listening to Kyle speak, listening to quarterback Brock Purdy's rebuttal. Just hearing them talk and how they're trying to manipulate cover 3, cover 4, paying attention to what they see from the defense and knowing exactly what they are going to do depending on defensive leverage or defensive scheme and play call. That is how Ji'Ayir Brown is planning on improving this season, and it's a smart move. The guy learns more about offense. He's able to exploit it better. We've talked many times about Kyle Shanahan feeling like there's this huge advantage he gains in terms of his understanding of defenses, playing into how he attacks them. So there's something there. But over all of this, The biggest biggest off-season change, has been bringing in Robert Saleh, bringing in Gus Bradley, bringing in Brant Boyer, making changes on the coaching staff. And the coaching staff is the single greatest impact you can have on a team. I'm not saying that like it's new information. You already know that. I've said that a million times on this channel. But what is new information is that it's incredibly clear the 49ers have solved their biggest problem as the run defense is going way up. There's no doubt about that. The way they've drafted is going to solve that problem itself. But the best coaches get the best out of their players. Ji'Ayir Brown did not get the best out of him. Nick Sorensen, did not get the best out of Ji'Ayir Brown. And ESPN just said the 49ers have the best coaches, bar only 2 teams. The best coaching staff in the National Football League, bar only 2 teams. Let's get into what Ben Solak had to say and how I think this all wraps together, how this all works together to make the best scenario, not just for Ji'Ayir Brown, but best for this entire team. Think about Deommodore Lenoir is such a good fit for a Robert Saleh kind of defense, right? You've got the defensive line completely reworked based on Robert Saleh's interests. You've got everything playing into Robert Saleh's hands. You have D. Winters, who's going to love playing for Robert Saleh. Everything is fitting together so perfectly, and it's not just us who see it. It's not just the homers. Here's what Ben Solak, ESPN, had to say about what the 49ers are doing. The 49ers had a weird defensive coaching arrangement last season. Nick Sorensen, who had alternated between coordinating special teams and coaching defensive backs in his career, had the title of defensive coordinator, but assistant head coach Brandon Staley had a heavy hand in introducing new fronts and coverages to the tried and true Legion of Boom-inspired defense the 49ers had run successfully for years. The return of Saleh, who previously served as the 49ers defensive coordinator for 4 seasons before his stint as a head coach in the New York Jets, helped push the team up to number 3 in Solak's 2025 rankings, trailing only the Minnesota Vikings and Kansas City Chiefs. They take the spot once occupied by the LA Rams, who dropped to number 5. Saleh is an exemplary defensive coach who has tailored his approach around both his personnel and the unique matchups of opposing offenses across his time in San Francisco and New York. In his 2.5 seasons with the Jets, they ranked first in points per drive, first in EPA per play, and third in defense success rate. He has the juice. The 49ers defense is on my short list for units about to take a massive leap in 2025. For all his offensive acumen, Shanahan is not perfect, but he still has plenty of room to grow as a game manager. That offensive system sure is something, isn't it? This is why I tell you the 49ers have left their biggest problem in the dust. The biggest problem was the defense, and even Ben Solak is saying this is going to be the defense that makes the biggest leap. Just watch it happen, you guys. Watch it happen. I'm telling you, it's going to be epic. I can't wait for it. We're 8 days away from the Denver Broncos. It's going to be an awesome opportunity. I'm actually going with my brother-in-law, who's a die-hard Denver Broncos fan. I've told you that before. Going to be going with him downtown today in Denver to Benny Fowler. Benny Fowler, Super Bowl winning wide receiver, is going to be doing some film breakdown, I guess. So it should be a good time. But anyway, all of that being said, you guys, let me know in the comments what you think about all this. I appreciate if you want to throw a little bit of feedback my way and tell me why you disagree. Or if you want to tell me that I'm 100% right, you agree with me. I think the 49ers are setting up to be a really, really tough team. And it might take a few weeks to get the rhythm rolling. But, man, once that train gets going, it's not going to stop. I can't wait for it. It's going to be such a fun season. I really do genuinely believe that. Appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a fantastic afternoon.